From humble beginnings in Dow, Oklahoma, came the Hopson, Kidd, and Mardis families. This is the story about a family that was raised in a little town in Oklahoma during a time where hard work in the fields was normal. 12-hour days was expected, and growing your own food by sharecropping was the way of the world. Through the strains of life, love of family persisted and overpowered all social dissonance, problems, and even racism of the times. Dow, Oklahoma was a town known for the mining of coal. In this area, a good number of African Americans found themselves as sharecroppers and coal miners. Our elders worked in the mines to raise their families in this small but loving community. It was the best of times and the worst of times, all wrapped up in one. Life was hard, but the love of family runneth over. It was truly a stressful period, but it was all about family, community, and our own village. In fact, the philosophy of "it takes a village to raise a child" was the epitome of what our family practiced. The Hopson, Kidd, Mardis family, neighbors and surrounding community were all we had to depend on for sheer existence. Because of the times, the only people you could truly count on were the members of your village. Even when traveling, wherever there was family, there was a place to rest your head and get a good meal. Families shared food, work, home remedies when sick, advice, clothes, and many humanistic advantages that one shares. We were seamstresses, farmers, iron workers, bankers, therapists, handymen, hunters, and our Ubers were each other's ox and wagon, horse, or even mules, getting up at the crack of dawn, or by the sound of a rooster crowing, to the smell of fresh frying bacon and eggs on a cast iron black stove, and pulling milk from out of the ice box was what country folk and living was all about. Everyone chipped in to support everyone, including extended family and neighbors. We were all we had, so unity, sticking together, and the love of each other created a loving environment that made up for the lack of significant riches other counterparts may have had. The spiritual glue that held our family together was our strong belief in God, church, and Sunday morning worship that bled over to everyday praise and worship throughout the week. Our spiritual commitment kept the family grounded in goodness and favor as we negotiated the perils of a challenging society. There was a time when many of our children had to attend schools specifically built for blacks to stay safe from the obvious danger and grow as a person. Phyllis Whitley School is where some of our relatives went because some of the schools forbid blacks to intermingle with whites. The day's pressure was wiped out at dinner time, though, where it was a tradition to fellowship at the table while eating. Food was untainted, fresh, and dependable. Even though it was customary to play with the chickens during the day, there was also a possibility of having it for supper that night. That was real. One ring of a chicken neck went from the family pet to being the main course at the dinner table at night. No matter if you are a blood relative or not, this is what our community practiced. The young took care of the old, and the old advised the young on life. It was all for one and one for all. The roots of the Hopson, Kidd, and Mardis family runs deep in this area. The union of Willie Hopson Jr. and Hazel created elders Ernest Lee Hopson, Willie Hopson, Billie Jean Hopson, and Wilford Kidd. With the union of Judge Wheeler, or J.W. Mardis, and Addie, they had Curtis, J.C., Edward, Willie, Wheeler, Henry, James, Doreen, Inez, and Joe. The son of Wheeler Mardis, Robert Mardis, out of Hammond, Indiana, 96, just recently had an appointment to see the Lord. There are Mardises and Hopkins all up and down the state of Indiana. Many of our male elders were drafted and got a chance to fight for our country, as did Thomas Hopson, Ernest, Wilford, and Robert. Willie Hopkins and sons, Wilford Kidd, Bucci, and Peaches, had many experiences hanging out with their big cousin, Robert Mardis, while growing up in Dow, Oklahoma. Many of them traveled north looking for work opportunities and landed in Hammond, Indiana. The family extended their home-based locations to Indianapolis, Atlanta, Georgia, Dow and Hartshorn, Oklahoma, Oakland, California, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Minneapolis, Minnesota, North Carolina to Florida, and even Colorado. Our family reaches vast and far. From that little town in Dow, Oklahoma, to across America is where we can now be found. Not only did we expand the geographic areas that we now call home, but we expanded the sheer numbers of brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, and cousins, along with extended family that have all joined our village that continue to call Hopson, Kidd, and Mardis family. Indianapolis is where we converge in 2024, but we know that wherever there is family, we can truly call that city home.